Welcome back to r/AholeTax, where jerks get exactly what they deserve in a very satisfying way. And if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive into the stories. And the first one is titled, I guess it is Property Battles Week, here is a 2-in-1. Inspired by property battles posted recently, I figured I would share this 2-in-1. I live in Minnesota in a rural township neighborhood that is between a couple of other rural neighborhoods and farms. Everything here is a square grid as far as major roads, except when wetlands dictate otherwise or neighborhood developers decided curvy streets were prettier. Our house is on the inside loop, cornering the township street and a county road. As a consequence, we have 7 property line stakes with plastic caps denoting our plat ID number and coordinates from a monument at the corner of the neighborhood, which originates to one of the original 1850s surveys of our county. This is important to know for later in the story. Part number 1, we bought the house about 6 years ago and it was mostly wooded. Our eastern neighbor was actually parking their boat on our property under a mistaken belief that where the irregular woods ended was theirs. Nice guy, bit of a drunk, and eventually later that year he and his wife separated and eventually divorced. His wife is not nearly as friendly, she started dating a new guy. The 3 daughters like to play in the woods that is actually my southern neighbor's property, and sometimes the girls would take shortcuts straddling the southern neighbor and us on their adventures. Whatever, good for them. Reminds me of my childhood adventures running through neighborhoods and small urban woods to play with my friends. Except I started noticing a particular kind of trash ending up on my property, to the likes of juice boxes, fruit snacks and single-serve desserts. Maybe these were being blown from somewhere, but that couldn't be because that is some dense woods on that side. The 6th time I found the trash and picked it up that summer, I chose to go talk to mom and new dad. I thought I was polite, but new dad essentially told me, "Without pictures or video, it hasn't happened. Don't bother us." Okay, fine, it's fall. I've been meaning to get a couple of trail cameras, let's do this. Other than a couple of times of the girls walking through that fall and winter, nothing. Then next spring comes around and there are pictures of these girls littering and even starting fires when burn restrictions are on. Just want to point out that we live near an airport that the MN Department of Natural Resources flies out of during burn restrictions to find offenders. One of our friends is a spotter for them and knows our house and property from the air. I print out the most incriminating pictures and again visit with mom and new dad. He mentions there's no proof that this is happening on my property or even the southern neighbors. Okay dude, you want a fight. I rent a metal detector, go on the county website to get the legal description of the property and set off to find the property line stakes. I have a video of me finding 6 of the 7 and clearly showing where they are in relation to significant visual reference, such as distinct medium-sized trees. I also clear a 5-foot wide path down the south side of the property line, and within a month I have dozens of pictures of them littering and occasionally playing with fire. I called the sheriff's department and explained I just want the girls to stop littering and burning and they are okay to pass through but not to play on my property. Neighbor mom came over right at the sheriff's office, talked with them and went off on me. At some point threatening me, all on video because I turned my cell phone on before opening the door. My wife called the sheriff's department again and they were back within a minute. Neighbor mom was trespassed along with her daughters and assessed a $700 times 3 for each girl littering fine. Mom has to pay because the daughters are minors. I did not ask them to hit her hard with fines and trespass the kids, just keep the complaining and her garbage off my land. Part number 2, you would think this woman would tread carefully with me. Nope. Despite knowing I have trail cams covering my backyard, that I am not afraid to step up for myself, nor do I put up with BS whatsoever, mom and new dad had forgotten my sting. Rather than practice due diligence and establish the western extent of their property, they clear some vegetation in my irregular wood line and lay some timbers for what I assume to be a small shed. I sent them a letter with an aerial map printed from the County Land Survey website and clearly mark our shared boundary property stakes. I also have the trail cam set to record video for 2 minutes after movement is detected. On video they moved the shed timbers to their property and set it up too close to the property line according to building code. Whatever, it is a shed that I cannot see from my actual house except in the winter when all the leaves are off the trees. Only another year goes by and new dad decides he wants a large pole shed. By now the trail cam is back to just taking pictures and the field of view is limited to only a few feet onto the neighbor's property. When I saw the footing excavation stakes one morning, I knew they were too close to my property line, so I called the county building department. You can see the area in question from the county road, but I rarely travel that way, so I did not notice until after the new building was up that the building stood where they marked it originally, but my corner property stake appeared moved. Remember kids, when I searched for that stake a couple of years before, I had video of where it was in relation to distinct trees, plural trees. When I went out to that back corner of the property, the county paid for survey stake had been moved so that my neighbor's building appeared in compliance with the required 20-foot setback. I was mad, very mad. I am very grateful that despite not maintaining the trail cam for over a year, it had caught when the neighbor dad moved the property stake. Sometime later that summer, after the building was erected, did the camera battery die. Not before several dozen times it caught the neighbor dad and the construction workers peeing on my property. I called the county building department and they were none too helpful because their previous on-site inspection was satisfactory for them. They said I could pay them to resurvey the stake or I could elect to hire a private company certified by the state to resurvey, but that did not guarantee a challenge to a setback violation. Well, fraud sure as hell does, and I set off to prove it. I opted for the private survey and they put a new stake in where the old one was, thus not only certifying my neighbor's new building was violating the setback, so was the shed. This was certified from the monument mentioned at the top, something that cannot easily be moved and faked. I sent a letter to my neighbors, the county building department and the county attorney's office with the survey records, a DVD with a video slideshow of the neighbor moving the survey stake and the previous video showing they already knew where the property line was over the shed timbers and several dozen slides of people pissing on my property. I demanded the county change its setback oversight procedure, they prosecute the neighbor dad for pissing on my property, and that the neighbor settle with me for treble damages on the survey, and if satisfied I would endorse a setback variance instead of making him take 4 feet off the back of the building. After 6 months of legal posturing between the county, the neighbor and neighbor dad and me, all was resolved. The neighbors settled with me for double the survey, the county allowed the variance but doubled the fees as punishment, and the neighbor dad was convicted of disorderly conduct with a stay of imposition after a year, meaning the conviction is now expunged. They even wave to us now, all thanks to neighbor dad telling me years ago I needed a camera to prove the girls were littering on my property. Well guys, and I guess in this case the phrase "be careful what you wish for" is more true than ever for the neighbor dad. But seriously guys, have you ever felt the need to install security cameras because of some dodgy neighbors? Honestly, that must be a really bad feeling to know that your neighbors are up to no good. So far I've been lucky with my neighbors, they were not criminals, just sometimes a bit annoying. And by the way, if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much in advance, this really means the world to me and helps my channel out tremendously. And the next one is titled "Harass the sole employee on duty right now? That will be $6 extra, please," featuring malicious compliance. I am working in a sandwich place that is a magnet for idiocy and asshattery. A little bit of backstory, there's one of those cheap bells on our counter because sometimes, if there's only 1 or 2 people and we are both in the back doing something like the dishes or prep work where we cannot see the camera and we don't see the customer walk up, they can ring it. Now there's only one of us working here right now, and literally 14 people, I counted, walked in all wanting sandwiches at senior citizen diner hours. And guys, according to Gordon Ramsay, senior citizen diner hours should be around 16 to 17 o'clock. Anyway, the last one walks up and orders 4 sandwiches. I tell him to wait for a bit so I can ring up the 3 people in front of him, since he's going to make them wait. The dude is all, no biggie, so I ring them up, and now I am getting to making his 4 sandwiches. Apparently he is shopping for the Bumstead family, since he wants everything on all 4 of them, so I will refer to him as Mr. Bumstead. Then comes Mr. Efferson, I will refer to him as MF. I glance him walking up and tell him, I will be with you in a moment, sir, to let him know I saw him. Now at this time I have kept Mr. Bumstead here waiting long enough, and I am wrapping up the last one of his £2 subs. MF dings the bell again and says, service please. I tell him, I will be with you in a moment, sir, I'm helping a customer here right now. Right as I start punching in Mr. Bumstead's order, MF rings the bell again. At this point Mr. Bumstead even looks over and says, he said he will be right with you. Before I can reflexively tell him, I will be with you in a minute, I'm the only one here right now. So as I am punching in all the sandwiches, MF does not get the message and starts hammering the bell. Unfortunately guys, I don't have a bell sound. At this time I look away, make eye contact with Mr. Efferson and tell him, sir, I'm the only one working here right now, please be patient. Mr. Efferson stops trying to spell out words in Morse code with the bell for maybe 10 seconds. While I am running over all the items for Mr. Bumstead's order, because he wanted to add multiple bags of chips, multiple cookies and multiple bottled drinks, I hear the bell sound again. Mr. Bumstead gets to him first and tells him, buddy, stop, he's the only one here, and there was just a massive line. He stops, and right as Mr. Bumstead hands me the cash to pay, the bell rings again. MF says, service please. Oh my god. I bite my lip to try and keep from telling Mr. Efferson to get out, while Mr. Bumstead shoots daggers at this guy as he gets his change. So I go to wash my hands because I just touched cash and I touched the register. Because food safety is important. Right as I'm going to get my gloves on, the bell rings again. Mr. Bumstead is getting his stuff out of the cooler at this point, and he is about ready to take to bludgeon MF to death with a bottle of Fanta. MF says, finally, I've been waiting for half an hour. No, you were not. I put on my best poker face and tell him, sorry for the wait, I'm the only one here right now. And then MF starts ordering his food. Now for the compliance and the AholeTax. MF says he wants a turkey sub. After I put on the turkey, he says, in the single most snooty tone of voice possible, oh, I want ham on that too. I tell him, this will be an additional charge. Is that okay? MF says, yes, and I want roast beef on that too. I ask if he wants the club, as it is turkey, roast beef and ham, but he says, no, I want a turkey sub at roast beef at ham. Oh, I see what he's doing. He's trying to do that thing where you add extra meats to a sandwich to try and get the price of the base sandwich because it is cheaper. Spoiler alert, it is not. Inside my head I start smiling like a Cheshire cat. So we get to the register, and his sub now costs almost $7.50 for the turkey and an extra $3 to put ham on it and an extra $3 for roast beef. Originally I would ring it up as a club, but since this guy showed immense douchebaggery, I rang it up exactly the way he said he wanted it to be rung up. Sure enough, he is all, wow, that's expensive, and I hand him the receipt. He reads it over and I have rung it up exactly as he ordered. MF then leaves, and probably wanting to tell that person who told him that life hack that they are full of crap. I go to the back and check my eyes for any popped vessels. Well guys, for a certain amount of douchebaggery, you just gotta pay the r/AholeTax. That's just the way it is. And the next one is titled Malicious Tax? Malicious Tape? I have just read a post of a malicious compliance about a dress code which mandated to wear a tie. That reminded me on one of my jobs as an engineer/tech, one event was in a concert hall, very formal audience, I think it was a political party event. After setting up lights and sound, we had a few hours break because its start was delayed, the tables and chairs were not set up yet, etc. So we went to lunch and took our time. After maybe 2 hours we got back and wanted to get back in. Front entrance, the back was closed because of a construction on the building and the road. To our surprise, the political party security would not let us in, even when we proved it could not even start. We were told they had strict order and we could only enter with a white shirt and a black tie, black pants, end of discussion. We looked puzzled at each other. We were in working white t-shirts and grey cargo pants, tool belt and safety boots. One colleague tried to call the event manager, of course he didn't pick up. Two tried to tell the security without us there would be no event and so on, all was in vain. After a while I got an idea and went into malicious compliance. Guys, I've got a great idea. They want formal attire, they will get what they want. But not like they think they will get it. We put my plan into action and after around 20 to 30 minutes gathered back in front of the security who could not believe what they saw. We, in all glory, stood there with black duct tape all over our cargo pants, making noise with every step, our white t-shirts and nicely cut ties, of course, out of black duct tape too. Draped over the shirts, a tux-like jacket out of duct tape. The security was speechless and did not stop us, clearly unable to grasp what happened. We went slowly and smugly grinning through them. They were completely defeated. We won. Nice malicious compliance? We are not done. When we were in the foyer, we met perchance the busy event manager. He glanced at us, turned back, opening his mouth to continue talking to the head of catering, turning his head slowly back to us, realizing who we were, and all color drained from his head, his mouth gaping open in disbelief. It took him a good minute to get his expression back to more believable human forms, the face getting red and redder. He ordered us to start but to remove the ridiculous masquerade first, which we did, still in plain sight of the security, which were visibly uncomfortable. While removing the duct tape, the better part of our just 2 days ago opened tape supply crate, the event manager screamed to the security. We could not hear neither, the manager turning into more and more rage with inhumane, incomprehensible screeches, the security too meek to understand under the tape removing noise, every one of them visibly shrinking every few seconds. Victory! A great malicious compliance, I love you, the goddess of my existence. But wait, we are not done yet. When we told our boss what happened, he laughed and laughed for half an hour straight, but then he got quiet, said cunningly, "They will pay for that." And he meant that literally. He ordered not the usual half-year supply crate of tape, he ordered 2 pallets of it, put it on the invoice. I might have or maybe not seen him altering the price of the single tape roll. He smirked and said in a dry tone, "AholeTax." And wow guys, that was probably one of the best r/AholeTax/ I would say crossover with malicious compliance stories I have read in a long time. Either way, guys, please let me know in the comments if you enjoy these r/AholeTax stories, because obviously these stories are a little bit different to what we read usually. Thank you so much for providing your feedback. And guys, unfortunately, we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.